So you may have seen on our website this actual picture. And so what I'm going to do is give you guys an overview of the competency development programs that we offer and also talk you through how they're connected. One of the things we really tried to do is think about the working professional who has their own way of managing time. And many of us have, more than one job, or we have a practice on the side, et cetera. So we tried to design it so that way people could complete the program in a way that fits for them. So we're going to start with the systems thinking series. That's one of the 2 series certificates of training that we offer. This first series is really focused around introducing the concept of thinking systemic, strength-based, relationally, being able to identify actual strengths and being able to understand how you could use those strengths in treatment. All of our home studies that are a part of this series, as well as throughout the competency program, all are eligible for APA CE credit hours when you meet the post-test criteria and complete your evaluation. So this first certificate of training is designed for everything from paraprofessionals to the professional managers, program directors, really to build those broader systemic concepts. And it's a total of 6.25 training hours. So the next series, certificate of training, is the family systems. So in order to be eligible for this, you would have to complete the systemic thinking series. You're going to see this continual piggyback that occurs as you build in the competency program. Again, this certificate is completely asynchronous. The home studies are eligible for APA CE credit hours, which is great when you have to get them for licensure. And part of it as well is we included an ethics and a suicide behavior training, as for many of our licensures, requirements include those 2 content areas specifically. So here you're going to get exposed to the ecosystemic structural family therapy model. You're going to see how we use our family assessment tools to conceptualize through ESFT. You're going to get a broader understanding of the family types and how those structures maintain the patterns in the family. You're going to be learning about using ESFT as a meta model. We specifically offer ESFT with TFCBT, as that is a broadly trained trauma model. And this will allow you to have understanding of how you can incorporate in other models you might be trained in connection to ESFT. And then finally, in the homicide suicide behaviors home study, we're going to be focusing on how do you manage content versus process, and even more specifically in the face of crisis, right? That there are everything, first order has an important role, just as well as second order change, and knowing how to use both of them in session. And all of these trainings include case studies, and actual recordings, so you can see the application of what is being taught. If we go to the next certification, so systemic family therapy certification. So to be eligible for this, you have to completed the first 2 certificates of training. So you can complete them at the same time, right? So you could be enrolled in those home studies and enrolled in the certification and completing them. Some people do the asynchronous work first and then they do the certification component, and some people do them at the same time. There is a criterion referenced knowledge assessment that is taken at the beginning of the certification. And based off your scoring in that, possible you may test out of some of those home studies. You have to be able to record sessions with clients and or families, and you have to have at least a master's degree, and a master's degree with 3 years of clinical experience or at least 1 year of actually practicing ESFT. There's at least a 1-year commitment to the certification program. And on the next slide, we're going to break down what those commitments are. We do use measurement-based training, which means that we are utilizing enactment scale, collaboration scale, in order to give you quantitative feedback on what's going well and what areas you need to work on, in addition to that criterion referenced assessment. And then there will be a competency project that occurs as part of you completing the certification. What we like to do is incorporate that into the group supervision process. So your last group presentation that you provide, where you present one of your cases and you bring your assessment tools and your short write-up, that would be used as your competency project. So let's look at what the components are. So this certification includes a total of 26 hours. You can see here that these series are required. There is a course on utilizing the 2 scales. It is not eligible for CE credits. And then you also are taking your knowledge assessment and getting a 1-hour learning contract session as well. So that way you understand the interpretation of your knowledge assessment. There are going to be 5 2-hour group supervisions that occur between September and June. They occur on a Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And you will be required, when you are assigned to present, you will be required to bring a recording of your clinical work. We do provide a release that's been developed by our legal team in order for you to record your work with your client and or families, and then share that at the training. And then you would be receiving 1 hour of individual supervision, where you would also bring your video recording, and this would be completed with one of our supervisors who are in certification program. You have to present at least twice. We want it to be a collaborative process. So let's say you submitted something and there were, submitted your negative interactional pattern, and something, we felt like there was something missing. We want to give you that feedback. I might meet with you, or you might get that feedback in training, and then we'd ask you to redo it and resubmit. But it's a developmental process we want to implement. And then at the end of the training year, you complete your knowledge assessment again, and then we review your learning contract. Additionally, we offer systemic family therapy certification for supervisors. So this, in order to be eligible, you have to have a master's degree and be licensed prior to entering the program with 3 years of clinical experience, or have a minimum of 5 years and a license completed prior to the certification is being completed. It is at least a 1-year commitment, with that monthly commitment of 5 times. You would be in more of a mentorship supervision group, where everybody else who's working on their supervisor certification will come together. You'll bring video of your supervision. You will be in this certification, you would be assigned a supervisee who's part of the training center, and you would be providing ecosystemic structural family therapy orientated supervision. So we're going to be working in this certification on identifying, understanding, and applying the isomorphic process in supervision, as well as how do we incorporate family assessment tools into supervision, the use of scales for constructive feedback, utilizing deliberate practice in order to build therapist skill. And you will also be working on your own growth and development as a supervisor in that relationship. This certification would also have a competency project that would occur at the end of the certification in your last presentation slot that you have. And again, we'd be looking to support you at making sure you hit those markers that are required. And then if there were something where you missed, we're going to be working with you in order to demonstrate that skill and have you bring it back. So that way we can make sure that you're successful at understanding the application of ESFT as a supervision model. So here are the requirements. Systems thinking, family systems, and the clinical certification is required. And based off the knowledge assessment, or people who may have completed an ESFT certification in one of our other programs might be eligible to, test out or get credit for that certification. There's 3 home studies. You would take the knowledge assessment at the beginning of the certification, but let's say you were coming from our clinical certification, you would not be required to take it again at the beginning of the training year, right? So the idea is some people come in and they just work their way through the certification process. It turns into once annually with a learning contract. You would be required to attend those 5 mentorship groups. You would be providing individual supervision 1 hour a month to an assigned supervisee and recording that supervision. Then when you come, and you would be presenting at least twice in the mentorship group. You want to be able to demonstrate that you were utilizing person of the therapist from Harry Aponte's model, that you're implementing family assessment tools, and that you're facilitating deliberate practice with your supervisee. And then at the end of that year, you would complete your knowledge assessment and have review of your learning contract.